Hello and welcome. In this explainer, we are going to dive deep into the psychology of the old soul. We're going to unpack why the very things that might make you feel like an outsider are, in fact, some of your greatest psychological strengths. So, has anyone ever said that to you, that you have an old soul? Maybe they meant it as a compliment, or maybe you just feel it deep down yourself, this sense that you're just operating on a completely different frequency from everyone else around you. It's a pretty common label, but what does it actually mean, from a psychological point of view? If preferring a quiet night in with a good book over a loud party, or feeling absolutely drained by small talk, if any of that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. Maybe you were always called mature for your age growing up, but now as an adult, that can sometimes feel more like being disconnected or even being called boring. But the psychology behind it tells a very, very different story. So here's the crucial point, the big reframe here. What you're experiencing isn't some kind of social flaw or shortcoming. It's actually a rare and incredibly powerful level of cognitive maturity. You aren't just acting older. Your mind is genuinely wired to process the world with more depth. Let's break down exactly what that means. First up, let's talk about social interaction. If you're an old soul, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That unique kind of exhaustion that comes from conversations that just go absolutely nowhere. Yeah, it's not just boredom, is it? It's a real physical drain of your energy. When a conversation is all about celebrity gossip or the latest internet trend, you might feel like you're just observing humanity from behind a glass wall. Your mind is craving substance, and when it doesn't get it, it just checks out. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. It contrasts two completely different sets of motivations. While so many people are chasing these external rewards, comfort, status, applause, your internal compass is pointing somewhere totally different. Instead of comfort, you're looking for purpose. Instead of status, you're seeking real, genuine connection. And instead of applause, you're driven by a search for truth. And you know what? Psychology actually has a name for this drive. It's called high self-transcendence. It's this innate need to connect with something larger than yourself and to understand life on a much more meaningful level, way beyond just accumulating things or climbing a social ladder. And that's why those shallow conversations feel so empty. They offer none of that. Okay, moving on to our second point. This cognitive maturity, it doesn't just affect how you socialize. Nope. It fundamentally changes how you respond to stress and conflict. It's kind of like you're a secret weapon for staying calm right in the middle of chaos. So when things get chaotic, your mind naturally uses this process called cognitive inhibition. And this is an incredibly powerful skill. It's the ability to hit a mental pause button between feeling an emotion and actually acting on it. So instead of a knee-jerk reaction, you create space for thought. And this illustrates the process perfectly. A trigger happens, someone starts to panic, or a plan falls apart. But instead of getting swept up in all that, you instinctively pause. You kind of zoom out to see the bigger picture, you weigh the potential consequences of different actions, and only then do you respond with intention. But here's the catch. This calm, deliberate approach can be completely misunderstood. People might see you as cold or distant, maybe even uncaring. The psychological reality, though, is that you're demonstrating some seriously advanced emotional regulation. You're operating from what psychologists call System 2 thinking, the slow, analytical, and deliberate part of your brain, instead of the fast, reactive part. This brings us to our final core trait, and this one is all about your relationship with yourself. It's about where you find your validation. It's about your inner scorecard. Think about it. In a world that is obsessed with external metrics, likes, followers, public praise, you just operate differently. Your sense of self-worth isn't hanging on whether a crowd tells you you're doing a good job. You're not chasing trends just to feel like you belong. The reason for this is because you have what's known as an internal locus of evaluation. Now, that's a bit of a mouthful, but all it really means is that your primary source for judging your own value, your successes, your failures, it comes from within. You measure yourself against your own principles and standards, not against the constantly shifting opinions of other people. And honestly, this is a true superpower. It leads to this incredibly stable sense of who you are. It's why you can genuinely enjoy solitude, because your own inner world is rich and stimulating enough. You don't need constant external entertainment to feel fulfilled. So as we start to put all these pieces together, a really clear picture emerges, doesn't it? Being an old soul isn't just some personality quirk. It's a distinct psychological profile that's defined by some really profound strengths. Look, trying to navigate a fast-paced, often surface-level world with this kind of mind, it can feel incredibly lonely sometimes. But it is so, so important for you to hear this. You are not lost, and you are definitely not broken. You are simply equipped with a different set of tools. Your mind is wired to seek out depth, to operate with a higher level of awareness, and to value truth above pretty much everything else. This isn't a burden, it's just a different way of being. So, to summarize it all, your greatest strengths are these three core traits: high self transcendence, which is what drives you to seek meaning; cognitive inhibition, which allows you to respond with wisdom instead of just impulse; and an internal locus of evaluation, which anchors your self worth firmly inside of you. Understanding these concepts is the first step. The next, and maybe the most important step, is to own them. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Knowing that your mind is built for depth, in a world that so often rewards the opposite, how are you going to choose to protect and leverage these incredible strengths?